guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back and it is Friday, August 30th, and it is 10:27 p.m. I'm getting a little bit of a late start. Okay, it's a lot of a late start, but I've been talking for the last couple hours to a friend that's in the crossfire of Dorian, and so been discussing everything that's going on there. Anyway, we're going to get into some Q-related news. That is Sammy. He has just jumped up to join us here, so you may see the tail go by. Anyway, let's get started. But first I wanted to thank you guys that have supported me through coffee or sent mail to me. I really appreciate it, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you here. These are people that have donated over the last few days. Peggy J donated through coffee. Mary Z, now she put her name as Anon, but I know who you are, Mary Z. And Rich in Spokane, Diane H, and she left a note that said, and her 7 dogs, Harley, Bobby, Ruby, Wolfie, Penny, Blue, and Sparky. Wow, that's a lot of dogs. So definitely she is a dog person, but that's all right. We like her anyway. Deborah D, Maureen C, and she just entered Anon, but I know who you are, Maureen. And Joanna O. And then in the mail, I got from Mickey R. from Palmdale, California, sent a wonderful letter, a picture of his cats and a donation. And I have to show you this. Now, I'm going to have to go back over here to see if you can see it here. These are his 2 cats. I'll get it closer there. And their names are Tigger and Smudge, and I'm betting that this one right here is Smudge, and this one's Tigger. Ooh, right there. Actually, Smudge looks exactly like my Sammy, and Tigger looks a lot like my cat that passed away recently. Anyway, let's go back here, and we've got Pam J from California. Wonderful letter. Thank you so much. I appreciated that, and thank you for sharing your heart. And Dorothy H from Knoxville, Tennessee. Thank you for the note. And she sent me a package of Fisherman's Friend and, well, the pill, one of the things that you can split pills with, so that I could split these in half. So thank you so much. That was very, very nice of you. And J from Reno, Nevada, she sent a fridge magnet, which is actually stuck to my fridge right now, and a Where We Go One We Go All bracelet, and a Q Army patch. I'll show you. I really like this. Let me go back over here so I can see if you can see it. This is really, I'm trying to get it. There we go. Do you see that? Yes, and I'm going to use this too, and you can't stop me. And also gave me a 1-ounce coin, and it is a Q coin. It says Where We Go One, We Go All, and it has an eagle, and it says God Bless America on the back. And so this is 1 ounce of silver, and that is such a very thoughtful gift. Thank you so much. I appreciated that stuff so much, and especially, the Q stuff. It's great. So that's not where I wanted to go. Let's go back over here. And that's Susan J from Reno. And Dr. James S. I'm a little bit hesitant to say your last name. I want to, because I think that you deserve all the business that you can get, because you sent the most wonderful letter, and I agree wholeheartedly with your statement of purpose. He is a chiropractor, and he sent me a book that he has written. Let me go back over here so I can see if you can see it. And I'm going to read this tonight before I go to bed, because I read very, very quickly, so I could get through this very quickly. And I am going to read that, definitely, for sure. But I appreciate that, and he signed it as well, the book. And he wrote, "Stay healthy and happy. Well, I'm going to try anyway. Okay, so thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I was a little bit miffed yesterday because somebody had written on my on the comments something about, you're getting all these this big money from coffee and all this stuff, and I thought, okay, and that I'm leading people astray because I'm pro martial law, which I don't know why anybody would get that from me, but that's what he thinks, and that whatever. But yeah, this man's crazy, or woman, I don't know, because really, if I took everything that I got from coffee and divided it from the hours that I spend doing this, it wouldn't even equal $1 an hour. So anybody that thinks that we do this for money. Well, if you're monetized, yeah, you do make a decent amount of money, but I'm not monetized. So, yeah, and I do appreciate people that support me because it does help to cover the hours that I spend and that I could be doing other things. But I love you guys and I love doing what I do. So anyway, let me go on. It's not even worth taking the time for that. And let's start. I'm just going to jump in here, anywhere. I really have enough to do 2 shows tonight, but now because
the Justice Department's internal watchdog on Thursday released a scathing report stating that former FBI...
Because I was talking so long on the phone, and it really was a call that I needed to take, but I don't have time for 2 videos tonight, but I'm going to do my very best to do at least 2 tomorrow because I have nothing else on that I need to do. So, all right, except possibly make some stew, but that's neither here nor there. All right, at 6'8", fired FBI Director James Comey moved through life like a shark's fin, well above the water level set by the rest of us. This brings attention, which he appears to enjoy, perhaps even crave. He has become public performer over the past 3 years, cultivating a disarming, oh shucks, lordy persona while covering his damaging acts with milky platitudes. Corn, ready for to be cut. You know what I'm talking about. The Department of Justice Inspector General just fired the first of 3 cruise missiles trained on Mr. Comey with devastating impact. Comey's reaction? Feel free to apologize to me. Rushing into victim land is a common strategy for the cornered. Another is staking out an imagined noble duty to a contrived higher authority, one that looks strikingly similar to the image he sees in the mirror each morning. Isn't that the truth? But here in the real world, this is where the IG's investigation has confirmed James Comey, as FBI director, created and maintained a separate record system that he kept in a desk drawer. He then also took most of those official records home. If that wasn't enough recklessness, he leaked some of those records to the press after he was fired. To Comey, all of this is justified because some hero has to rise up and stand in the breach. But the IG methodically lists the numerous policies Comey violated, policies carefully designed over time to prevent the abuse of authority by those who self-craft a higher loyalty in their minds, thereby exempting themselves from the rules. Comey was no hero. He was nothing more than an executive vigilante. Creating a separate record system in the FBI is a mortal sin, and with good reason. Every newly minted agent at Quantico learns this as part of FBI 101. Anytime an FBI agent, to include the director, collects information in an official capacity, that information must be documented, associated with a case file number, and entered into the FBI's case management system. Comey never did that. In fact, His now infamous memos weren't entered into the official FBI system until after he was fired. Having one system of record ensures that all information collected by the FBI is searchable, discoverable, and transparently linked to the authorities that allow that collection. A separate, hidden record system gives rise to suspicion and disrupts the economy of trust that the FBI has worked hard to maintain with the American people. Comey is quoted extensively in the IG's report and appears nonchalant in his disregard for such rules. He asserts a theory of personal property over the memos he wrote that the IG easily swats aside in its shallow absurdity, but his assertion of personal ownership of the memos documenting his encounters with President Trump does give off a whiff of self-interest that a future memoir was his true motivator. Less than a year after his firing, voila, his book, A Higher Loyalty, was published. Each of Comey's violations, creating separate records, taking them home, leaking them to the press, are fireable offenses. And if he were still FBI director, that undoubtedly would be his fate. It's almost too bad he can't be fired again, just for emphasis. Comey may try to deflect with celebratory comments that he wasn't charged with mishandling classified information, but he remains in a precarious position, and the trend lines aren't good. Next up will be the IG's finding regarding Comey's truthfulness before the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA court, and whether he attested to false or misleading statements in order to electronically monitor a presidential campaign. That determination may not be as cut and dried as many think it is, but it's hopefully, at a minimum, will explain why Comey believed he could sign off multiple times on a FISA application based largely on information that he himself described as salacious and unverified. His exposure here is potentially much more devastating than breaking FBI record retention and handling rules. Close behind the IG's second report will be findings by U.S. Attorney John Durham whether Comey and his rogue team of investigators violated FBI and departmental guidelines to initiate a counterintelligence investigation into a presidential campaign. They will determine if Comey had adequate justification for launching such an unprecedented investigation. But beyond that, Mr. Durham and his team will likely follow up on emerging indicators that Comey may have colluded with other intelligence community leaders to actually manufacture the justification needed for an investigation by targeting covert informants against campaign representatives in violation of established policies and procedures. In short, James Comey is not out of the woods. After the first IG report, which has exposed him as someone who casually and carelessly disregarded established rules and regulations, it is not a stretch to imagine that this disregard carried over into other more serious areas of potential abuse and authority. So really this first report has only established that he broke the rules. But there's two more coming, and they are much more serious. This one established that, okay, he broke the rules, he lied, he leaked. He's a leaky liar. Comey is owed no apology by anyone. By his own publicity-seeking behavior since crashing onto the scene in July 2016, he has verified his animus and political biases without any further findings. He already has disgraced that noble office. He owes an apology to every FBI employee, past and present, who toiled to win the trust of the American people that he has so severely damaged. So, this should give us, it's like we were discussing in the last video, it's not over. It's not over, people. That was the very least of what he's done. The first report that came out, the first IG report that came out, that's the very least of what he's done. So I think they are saving this for the slam dunk later, which is what Q said, basically. So let's not, despair too much, because I do believe that justice is on the way for Comey. Corn, ready for to be cut. Yeah. There you go. Now, let's go on, because we can. And let's look at this now. Trump blisters Comey on Twitter after IG report is released. Yeah, and Comey has the audacity to want an apology. Well, no apology will be forthcoming, I can assure him of that. On Thursday, shortly after the release of the DOJ Inspector General report that confirmed fired FBI Director James Comey frequently broke FBI rules, President Trump hammered the former head of FBI. Perhaps never in the history of our country has someone been more thoroughly disgraced and excoriated than James Comey. In the just released Inspector General report, he should be ashamed of himself, Trump said in a tweet. President Trump wasn't the only one to hammer Comey. By leaking his confidential communications with the president in an attempt to save face in the wake of his firing, Mr. Comey believed he was above the rules of the DOJ, said Representative Jim Jordan. His actions were disgraceful and part of a wider effort within the Obama Justice Department to undermine President Trump. The Inspector General's report goes into great detail about all the rules that Comey broke in order to turn the American people on President Donald Trump. Although Comey clearly broke the law, the Department of Justice decided to let him off the hook. Not surprising, considering everyone who identifies as part of the left seems to get away with their crimes. Now, this obviously, this little article is taking another line. They're taking the line that, oh, they just let him off the hook. I don't believe that. I don't believe he's off the hook. Comey's action with respect to the memos violated Department and FBI policies concerning the retention, handling, and dissemination of FBI records and information, and violated the requirements of Comey's FBI employment agreement, says the report. One of the most damning pieces of the report was that it stated that Comey set a dangerous example for the people of the FBI by trying to achieve a personally desired outcome. The report goes on to state that Comey violated Department and FBI policies and the terms of the FBI employment agreement by retaining copies of memos 2, 4, 6, and 7 after he was removed as director, regardless of each memo's classification level. He also failed to tell anyone from the FBI that he had retained copies of the memos in his personal safe at home, even though his chief of staff, associate deputy director, and 3 other officials went to his home to inventory and remove all FBI property. It gets worse. The former head of the FBI also violated FBI rules by sending a copy of his memos to a friend who he had told to release the memo to the New York Times. Lying leaker. Comey violated FBI policy and the requirements of the FBI employment agreement when he chose this path, the Inspector General says, by disclosing the contents of Memo 4 through Daniel Richmond to the New York Times. Comey made public sensitive investigative information relating to an ongoing FBI investigation, information he had properly declined to disclose while still FBI director during his March 20th, 2017 congressional testimony. Despite all these damning revelations, Comey is ignoring all the laws he broke and is instead focusing on a section of the report that said he didn't directly leak to the media. Comey is also demanding apologies. The man's been sniffing glue, what can I say? DOJ, IG, found no evidence that Comey or his attorneys released any of the classified information contained in any of the memos to members of the media. I don't need a public apology from those who defame me, but a quick message with a sorry we lied about you would be nice, he wrote on Twitter. He's delusional. Really, what is it with these people? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below, and you let me know in the comments below what you think of this. And do you think he will be brought to justice? Do you think that they're waiting for a slam dunk with the next 2 reports out on him? I do, but look, you know what? We can agree to disagree and still be friends. Absolutely. We can respect each other's opinion, but let me know what you think. Okay, now, let's go back. All right, and this Secretive U.S. government agency needs underground lair by Friday. That's today. So this was the deadline that they had set to get their underground facility. A U.S. government agency that birthed the network, which ultimately became the internet, is apparently in need of an underground lair, and fast. By tomorrow, to be specific. Well, that's today. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, which has famously been involved in a range of products, including neural implants for U.S. soldiers, made its need known in a Wednesday tweet that prompted some suspicious replies. Attention, city dwellers. We're interested in identifying university-owned or commercially managed underground urban tunnels and facilities able to host research and experimentation, the tweet read, adding, it's short notice. We're asking for responses by August 30th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And the tweet included a link to a request for information form and some stark images, a subway station devoid of humans, a dark parking garage, and some type of underground bunker. The government agency elaborated a bit in the second tweet. One person responded, "This sounds both exciting and ominous," to which DARPA account replied, "Even to us." Although the solicitation might conjure dystopian visions or zombie apocalypse preparations, a representative for DARPA told Fox News that the request is related to finding locations for its subterranean challenge urban circuit, a competition that's examining new approaches and technologies that could help first responders and the military navigate tunnels, the urban underground, and cave networks. Do you buy that? I don't. Why do they need it so soon? Why did it have to be so sudden? Generally, if they're planning something like that, they plan well in advance. So why would they be in need of a facility on such short notice? Doesn't make sense to me. Not at all. All right. And of course, we went over those tweets yesterday. Per the announcement on the Federal Business Opportunities website, the RFI is intended solely for information and planning purposes and does not constitute a formal solicitation for proposals. Complex urban underground infrastructure can present significant challenges for situational awareness in time-sensitive scenarios, such as active combat operations or disaster response. Why would you be going through the tunnels in respect to a disaster response? Just wondering. And, active combat in tunnels? Really? Hey. Jared Adams, DARPA's chief of communications, told Fox News via email. One Twitter user joked, "We're definitely not looking for new places to keep all the Demogorgons," referencing the monster in Stranger Things. DARPA responded with this, "Please, Demogorgons are such a Department of Energy thing." The teams competing in the subterranean challenge are vying for several $1 million in prizes. Well, I don't know. It sounds a little bit off to me, but stranger things have happened. I don't know. It just seems a little odd that they are looking for this by 5 o'clock today when we have a hurricane bearing down on the U.S. coast, Florida, Georgia, even North Carolina may be in the crosshairs. And they're saying, this is a monster storm. In fact, it may be worse than Andrew. And I don't understand why they're saying, it's going to stay a 4. It's going to stay a 4. Because right now it's coming over the warmest part of the ocean, which is heated way above normal because of the extreme temperatures we've been having down there. And so, I don't believe them on that. And there's something up with the storm. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, but there's something, I don't know. I don't even know how to put it into words, unfortunately, but does not feel right at all. Okay, let's go back now, and we will look at this.
Hello, this is President Trump, and I'm standing in the Rose Garden of the White House right in front of the Oval Office, and we're all working very, very hard on Hurricane Dorian. It's been interesting because it looked like it was going to be a very small storm, that we all got lucky. It missed Puerto Rico. It hit the Virgin Islands, but not as bad as it could have. But it really began to form and form big. And now it's looking like it could be an absolute monster. We're ready. We have the best people in the world ready, and they're going to help you. We're shipping food, we're shipping water. But it may be that you're going to evacuate. We're going to see what happens. We're waiting. It does seem almost certain that it's hitting dead center, and that's not good. The winds seem to be building at a tremendous rate. It looks like the winds are going to be unbelievably high. We're all ready, and hopefully we'll get lucky, but it looks to me like this time it's heading in one direction. All indications are it's going to hit very hard, and it's going to be very big. Somebody said bigger, or at least as big as Andrew, and if you remember Andrew from many years ago, that was not good. So just be aware and be safe, and God bless you.
So that is President Trump saying that this storm's going to be a monster. And I don't think that he is, exaggerating by any stretch of the imagination. I really don't. I was just going to see if there's anything. Anyway, let me go back here. We don't have time to, I don't have time to dawdle today. Okay, and this is a recent picture of Dorian. And this is a big storm, and they have it here hugging the coast all the way up, which would be a nightmare scenario if you ask me, because part of it is it would remain over the warm water, which would continue to feed it, and it's gonna, this is a huge rainmaker, which would flood this coastland, and I don't know, it's not good. Of course, I'm no weather girl or anything, That's all I can say. It's not good. It's not good. Okay, and this as well. And look at this monster. Like, you've got rain bands all the way down at the bottom of Florida. And look up here that you've got it stretching almost to South Carolina here. Like, this storm easily covers the entire state of Florida. Easily. Like, look at these bands. All right, this is huge. This is a huge storm. There's people out there. I was looking on some forums and stuff, and absolutely they're going, oh, it'll fizzle out. How do you figure? Or, it's nothing. They're just overhyping it. Nah. I mean, I'm telling you. And then there's other people saying, well, it's just a small storm. They said it was a small storm. Does this look small to any of you? It doesn't look small to me. So I'm just saying, please stay safe. Those of you in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all of these are potentially going to be hit by this. And, please stay safe. Don't take any chances. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Okay, now I don't know what that is. Oh, I guess it's part of this. Now, this is by Jason Vale, Q Mega, and he says, does anyone get the feeling that during these last, and I believe next days, there is some serious shite gonna go down? I'm sorry, I can't even read tonight. What is wrong with me? Does anyone get the feeling that during these last, and I believe next days, there is some serious shite going to go down? Yes, I do. I get the feeling very, very strongly. And he is responding to this from Air Force football. And they're saying 4 more days. Now, this was from yesterday, okay? And they're saying No, it was from the 27th. 4 more days. We repeat, 4 more days. I don't know. There just seems to be a lot of weird banter, between different, like the Air Force football, what DARPA was saying. I mean, it seems just odd. There's something off. And we know that they do communicate through, different government, whatever, agencies. They do. They send messages out, and we've proven that with Q. Now, this person, this is interesting. Allison says Trump to go to Camp David on Friday. What's at Camp David? Evergreen Chapel, which is true. There's a chapel there called Evergreen Chapel. 1991, the Evergreen Chapel was dedicated by President George H.W. Bush. It was built using funds raised by a nonprofit corporation formed by Kenneth Plummer. Now, she takes us to Q 1279. And I'm not sure what date that was, but I remember this. Q says, define evergreen. What do you call a plumber? Now that's interesting, because I remember reading that and thinking, what on earth does that mean? Define evergreen. When do you call a plumber? And the guy that that actually provided the funds, that raised the funds to build this Evergreen Chapel, his name was Plummer. Kenneth Plummer. Coincidence? I don't think so. I don't know. Does it mean anything? Probably means something. Don't know. What do you guys think? And it says, someone just said, well, what's he going to do up there? Birdwatch? Camp David isn't a couple of cabins in the woods. No, it's not. And this is interesting as well, by Donald J. Trump. The United States of America was not involved in the catastrophic accident during final launch preparations for the Sapphire SLV launch at Semnan Launch Site 1 in Iran. I wish Iran best wishes and good luck in determining what happened at Site 1. Now, is he trolling? I don't know. But I guess there was an accident at this site, and Iran is blaming the U.S. President Trump is saying, we were not involved in this accident, but we wish you all the best in determining what happened. So whether he's just trolling them and the U.S. did have something to do with it, or whether they did not, I don't know. How do you read that? I would be interested in your opinion, very interested, because I'm a little bit uncertain, and I'm not altogether convinced that the U.S. didn't have something to do with it, but you let me know what you think. Okay, let's look at this. Rashida Tlaib sued for $2 million by GOP congressional candidate in what can only be described, let me make this bigger. I know, I'm always thinking about you tiny phone people. All right. In what can only be described as a terrible day for the squad, we learned that Rashida Tlaib is being sued for 2 million smackers. Earlier today, word broke that Ilhan Omar, besides being a terrible congresswoman, is a homewrecker. She's been carrying around on an illicit affair with a consultant she paid close to $250,000. Now comes word Tlaib is also in trouble after conservative activist Laura Loomer filed her $2 million lawsuit. The lawsuit stems from a confrontation at a Minneapolis campaign event Loomer and Rashida attended. The event was for her fellow squad member Ilhan Omar. Loomer is a well-known conservative activist and firebrand who recently announced she was running for a Florida congressional seat. From CBS. According to the lawsuit, Tlaib violently grabbed the phone as Loomer was working as a journalist seeking to understand Tlaib's position on Israel and Palestine. Tlaib is the daughter of Palestinian immigrants. Loomer is Jewish. Freedom Watch, the conservative group that filed the lawsuit, said that Loomer is suing Tlaib not for political purposes, but to hold the congresswoman accountable for her unhinged hatred for Jews and Israel. Larry Klayman, the founder of Freedom Watch, also filed a complaint against Omar earlier this year, seeking a Justice Department investigation into the Minnesota congresswoman. From the Star Tribune, Loomer is a conservative media and online personality who this month filed to run as a Republican in Florida's 21st district against Democratic U.S. Representative Lois Frankel. Loomer is a supporter of President Donald Trump and is Jewish. After being kicked off Twitter in 2018, she handcuffed herself to a door at the company's New York offices. She was banned by Uber and Lyft after she urged the creation of a ride-sharing service that doesn't hire Muslims. Loomer was part of a group that disrupted an August 11th, 2018 campaign event at Holy Land Deli in Minneapolis. Omar and Tlaib were then both candidates for Congress. Now, the Star Tribune is not being fair to Laura Loomer, but I have reservations about her, but I know she is very, she's Jewish, and, she has done very good journalistic work. So I don't know, but I think it's wonderful that somebody is holding them accountable. That's how I feel. But let's go back here, and we've got this. This is also very interesting. Former Canadian Prime Minister publicly roots for Hurricane Dorian to destroy Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Interesting. That's very mature of her. What is she, 5? Hurricane Dorian is barreling towards Florida, and it has a good chance to be a devastating storm. The storm's track is still up in the air, but many models predict a direct hit near Palm Beach. That, of course, has moved up north a little bit. Trump, of course, loves his winter White House, Mar-a-Lago, and believe me, the left is hoping for a direct hit. Some blue check marks on Twitter have already apologized for praying for Dorian to wipe out Trump's favorite place. You heard that right. Forget how many people a Cat 4 or 5 storm would hurt and displace, let alone the lives lost. If Trump can be damaged, then the left goes all in. But we expect a little more from world leaders and former world leaders, and sadly, it seems they too have Trump derangement syndrome. From the New York Post, former Canadian Prime Minister Kim Campbell said she is hoping for a bullseye hit by Hurricane Dorian on Mar-a-Lago, President Trump's prize Florida resort and so-called winter White House. I'm rooting for a direct hit on Mar-a-Lago, Campbell said, who served as the 19th Canadian Prime Minister for less than 5 months in 1993, tweeted on Thursday. Dorian could become a Category 5 hurricane by the time it makes landfall Monday, with current projections indicating that the Palm Beach property remains in the cone of uncertainty about where it strikes. Campbell faced backlash for her tweet, with many calling it embarrassing and disgusting, but she doubled down on her wish and told critics to get a grip. As there are in Puerto Rico, sorry you don't get snark, but Trump's indifference to suffering is intolerable, she said to a critic who pointed out real people live and work in and around Mar-a-Lago. We'd also help if he tackled climate change, which is making hurricanes more destructive. Instead, he will remove limits on methane. Get a grip. Well, that's lovely. Now, I've heard now that she's apologized, but, after her being this animate and doubling down on it, she's only apologizing to keep, to cover her butt. Unbelievable. And something, speaking of this whole climate change thing, I went with my mother because she had a driving lesson. She lost her license. It's a long story. Because of, I guess here, if you are in any sort of a fender bender or anything and you're over 70, they make you do a road test. They take your license and they make you do a road test again. So that is the situation she's in because the road was icy and she nudged the car in front of her. So anyway, and she's, not been the best driver, but she's been taking lessons and she's getting really a whole lot better. Anyway, I was taking her to her driving lessons today, and I had never really been to this one. Well, I mean, it's been there for a long time, but I just never go to it. I have no reason to be in that end of town, and I just have never seen this little strip mall there. And it's got the driver's license place and, you know, a dialysis place and all these government offices there. And I looked up and it said Ministry of the Environment and Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Yeah, I guess there is such a thing here. I didn't know. But yeah, we are so far down the globalist agenda here in Canada. I don't know if the genie can be ever put back in the bottle. I hope so. But I digress. Let's go back. And let's look at this. A Trump-fired aide made comments about children.
President Trump on Friday said his personal secretary was...
Now, President Trump on Friday said his personal secretary was ousted after she made remarks about his children during an off-the-record dinner with reporters. Trump told reporters as he left the White House... Trump told reporters as he left the White House for Camp David that he'd just spoken with Madeleine Westerhout, who was fired a day earlier. I guess she said some things. She called me. She was very upset. She was very down, Trump said. Trump would not say definitively whether or not he fired Westerhout, saying it was automatic. She called and I wished her well, he added. Now, I think it is automatic because she signs a non-disclosure agreement, and she obviously violated that. So his comments came shortly after Politico published a report saying Westerhout was fired because she told reporters during an August 17th dinner that Trump did not like appearing in photos with his daughter Tiffany because he thought she was overweight. Trump denied making the comment, saying it was absolutely false. She's going to be calling me when we get to Camp David. It's absolutely false. She's a wonderful person and she studies hard, he said of his youngest daughter. The news outlet also said that Westerhout bragged that she had a better relationship with the president than he did with his daughters. Trump defended his relationship with his youngest daughter, Tiffany, when asked about the report. Tiffany is great. I love Tiffany, he told reporters. Politico reported that Westerhout's comments came after she had had a couple drinks, and after Deputy White House Press Secretary Hogan Gidley had gone to do an interview with Fox News. Trump on Friday chastised the media, claiming they leaked the details of the off-the-record conversation and calling them dishonest. But still, you don't say things like that, like she said, which were just a little bit hurtful to some people, he said. It's common for reporters to meet with White House sources in an informal and off-the-record setting, particularly while traveling. The president said Westerhout had a bad night and noted that she was drinking with reporters when she made the comments. I think she had a bad night, Trump said. As a special assistant to the president, Westerhout was a gatekeeper to the Oval Office. She oversaw the president's schedule and had intimate knowledge of who interacted with Trump. Westerhout is a former Republican National Committee aide who was featured prominently in one scene of the recent book American Carnage. Author Tim Alberta reported that Westerhout was inconsolable and crying on election night 2016 at the prospect of Trump winning. As of Friday evening, Westerhout's official government Twitter account was still active with a profile image that showed her with the president, who is flashing a thumbs up. So that is why she was fired, and I do believe she was fired. I don't think she just walked out, and said, "Oh, yeah, my bad. Okay, I'm out of here." No. Of course she was fired. And let's go back. Trying to get in as much as I can. All right, and let's look at this. No, really, let's. Joe Biden told moving military story at campaign stop, but it never happened, report says. Well, that should surprise no one. Former Vice President Joe Biden's campaign has been dogged by gaffes, but a new error could be his most damaging yet. The controversy surrounds a moving military story, which the VP claimed to be the God's truth that Biden told at a campaign stop in New Hampshire earlier this month. The only problem was the story was not true. According to the Washington Post, Biden was quick to respond to the allegation on Thursday, speaking to a Washington Post Cape Up podcast. I was making the point how courageous these people are, how incredible they are, this generation of warriors, these fallen angels we've lost, he said. I don't know what the problem is. What is it that I said wrong? Earlier, Biden allegedly tall tale was an emotional account of his decision to travel to Afghanistan despite concerns about visiting a war-torn area in order to honor a Navy captain for retrieving the body of his dead comrade during battle. According to Biden, he brushed off concerns about the risk of him traveling to the deadly area. We can lose a vice president, he said, recounting his words to the crowd during an event on Friday. We can't lose many more of these kids. Not a joke. His story involved the captain dramatically telling Biden he didn't want the medal because his comrade ended up dying. But after speaking with more than a dozen military and campaign sources, the Post determined the event never happened and that almost every detail in the story appears to be incorrect. We don't want this man for president. Of course, we didn't want him before either, touch and sniff Biden. But we definitely don't want a man that just completely makes up a story. I mean, it reminds me of Hillary when she said, oh, we arrived under gunfire, and it shows her really arriving and a little girl walking up to her with flowers and everything. It's like, okay, these people have no shame. It appears as though the former vice president has jumbled events of at least 3 actual events into one story, the Post's Matt Visor and Greg Gaff wrote. They added that Biden rattled off a slew of inaccurate facts in the span of just a few minutes. In the space of 3 minutes, Biden got the time period, the location, the heroic act, the type of medal, the military branch, and the rank of the recipient wrong, as well as his own role in the ceremony, Visor and Gaff wrote. The Post reported that the crowd of 400 people in Hanover fell silent, and the former vice president gave his word as a Biden that the story was true. Well, I guess his word as a Biden isn't worth anything. Biden's retelling was perhaps the most inaccurate version of the story he has told, although it wasn't the only time he told it, according to the Post. Biden's problem follow a long list of U.S. politicians facing accusations they fabricated military stories. The Post famously fact-checked former Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton after she claimed she landed in Bosnia under sniper fire. Former Secretary of State John Kerry, the party's 2004 nominee, similarly faced questions about his military service in Vietnam. The former vice president's story, however, wasn't entirely wrong. Army Staff Sergeant Chad Workman reportedly received a medal from Biden after attempting to retrieve a dead soldier from a burning vehicle. Workman told a similar story about the two's interactions, but with one added detail, the Post said. He recalled Biden meeting his gaze. Workman told the vice president that he didn't want the medal. I know you don't, Biden replied softly, the Post reported. Biden's war story was just the latest incident to cast doubt on the 2020's frontrunner's mental acuity as he ran for president of the United States. While his campaign has dismissed his gaffes as part of a press narrative, other observers have claimed that the number of verbal slip-ups is concerning. In recent days, Biden inaccurately stated the decade when Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. were assassinated, said he preferred truth over facts, and misidentified New Hampshire as Vermont when campaigning in the early primary state. Former vice president. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest of it here because you get the gist. And we have so much more to get to, and not a lot of time to get to it. So, this, according to the conservative underground, Jussie Smollett charges reinstated. Now, I've heard this argued that this is not true. So I need to check this out. So I'm just going to, put that out to you. This is what the conservative underground is saying. There are others that are contending that no, they have not been reinstated, but they're not from reliable sources, the ones that are saying no, they haven't been reinstated. So I need to get to the bottom of this. Smollett could finally face justice. A Cook County, Illinois judge has ruled that a special prosecutor should be appointed to investigate the alleged hate crime hoax case involving actor Jussie Smollett, which would allow charges to be reinstated against Smollett. CBS News Chicago reported that the judge made the ruling because Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx had no authority to hand the case off to her top deputy after announcing she recused herself. TMZ noted the judge used a nautical metaphor to describe the screw-ups made by Fox's office, saying there was no master on the bridge to guide the ship as it floundered through uncharted waters, and it ultimately lost its bearing. Smollett's case, in many ways, was truly unique, Judge Michael Tuman said, according to reporter Megan Crepeau, a case that purported to have been brought and supervised by a prosecutor authorized to serve in the stead of the duly elected state's attorney, but in fact was appointed to a fictitious office. Crepeau added the special prosecutor may further prosecute Smollett, and if they have reasonable grounds to believe that other criminal offense was committed, special prosecutor may commence the prosecution of any crime as may be suspected. Anthony Guglielmi, Chief Communications Officer for the Chicago Police Department, tweeted, "We stand firmly behind the work of detectives in investigating the fabricated incident reported by Jussie Smollett, and Chicago Police will fully cooperate with the court-appointed special prosecutor." So that, to me, is good news, very good news, because he just kind of skated on those charges, and we know he's guilty. He fabricated this, and for what reason did he fabricate it? Well, he's got ties to Kamala Harris and, well, all sorts of people. And speaking about Kamala Harris, I need to say this, that I read to you, it was one of the last 2 videos that I did, and it said that Harris had claimed that she was going to round up Trump supporters and so forth. I want to apologize because that is not true. That was fabricated, and I fell for it. And I do apologize. I do make mistakes, but I will, when I'm corrected and somebody shows me the truth of the matter, I will come and apologize to you for that, because I would much rather you get the truth than care about, what it makes me look like. So anyway, I wanted to be sure that you got that. She did not state that. She did not state that they were going to. Sounds like something she'd say, but she didn't say it. It came from, the original source was from a satire site, and people picked it up and started reporting on this as if it was true. And I'm one of those people, so I ask your forgiveness for that. And anyway, let's go back here and let's look at this. Apologies are not enough. Eric Trump says he will sue MSNBC over Lawrence O'Donnell report. We the people support this. Eric Trump. It is past time something is done about the constant lies and fake news. And you know what? Unless they start doing that, unless they start suing these guys, they're not going to get the message, because they just get a little slap on the wrist. Oh yeah, I was wrong. They need to be held accountable. They need to be held to some standards, because they've got a responsibility. When you're in front of people and you're labeled as the news or whatever, and there's all these people listening to you and you lie, then you need to be held accountable to that. Because, you can't go out and grab those words back. There are people that went into some people's heads that will never hear the retraction. So, yeah. Irreparable damage is done when they do that. Eric Trump said apologies are not enough. I agree with him, because the thing is, people, if that were enough, then anybody could say anything, and then when they're called on it, they could just say, "Oh, sorry, I was wrong." No. So there's that, and let me see here. I've got so much stuff here, and some of it I've been holding forever Hang on. Of course, you knew that the footage from the camera outside Epstein's Epic Fine's cell has been deemed unusable. I think that's interesting. Not one camera, but 2 cameras malfunctioned. What are the odds? Yeah. And, oh yes, I've been wanting to get to this for a while. And, you know, I've had so much other news but I really do want to get to this because it's unbelievable. Cleveland cop. Oh, I have to disable my ad blocker here. Hang on here. All right. Cleveland cop urinated on 12-year-old girl waiting for school bus while recording on cell phone, prosecutors say. Yes, you read that right. A cop urinated on a 12-year-old girl while recording it on his cell phone. Yeah. Cleveland, Ohio, a Cleveland police officer tried to kidnap a 12-year-old girl waiting for her school bus and urinated on her while he filmed the interaction, prosecutors say. Officer Solomon, I can't pronounce that last name, 34, is charged with attempted kidnapping, pandering, obscenity, disseminating material harmful to juveniles, assault, endangering children, child enticement, interfering with custody, and public indecency. He is set to be arraigned on Monday. Now, this was a while ago because I've meant to bring this for a long time. It was August 23rd. So, yeah. He was suspended without pay until the case is concluded. He was hired as a police officer in 2014. He will be held accountable. Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Michael O'Malley said, "It's my office mission to ensure he never wears the badge of a police officer again. I should hope not." The incident happened on Friday on Euclid Avenue in Euclid. I don't know where that was. The girl was sitting on the sidewalk waiting to be picked up at a school bus. And this guy, Euclid Avenue in Euclid, and the guy's last name, let's just call him the last name N, was arrested on Tuesday. The girl was sitting on the sidewalk waiting to be picked up by the school bus. He drove up and tried to entice the girl to get inside his car by asking if she needed a ride to school, prosecutors said. The girl repeatedly refused, and he initially drove off. He returned about 1 minute later and recorded himself on his cell phone urinating on the girl. The girl repeatedly refused, and he left again. A neighbor called Euclid police and said a man, later identified as this guy, was acting strange and looking inside people's car. The girl's mother reported the incident to Euclid police, who pieced together the connection, prosecutors said. He turned himself into police on Tuesday. Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association, Jeff Fulmer, declined comment. Can you imagine a cop? Your 12-year-old daughter's waiting for the bus, and he tries to get her in his car. She wisely refuses, and he comes back and urinates on her while filming it. Yeah, that's the kind of world we're living in, and it's alarming. Seems to be getting worse and worse, and I want to hit on this too before I stop for the night. Listen to this. Hog boy, pig boy I like to call him, leaves orders that if he's killed, his body is to be dumped at the NRA. He's got a really overinflated sense of his own importance, doesn't he? No, really, he does. I mean, the first thing is, I remember so clearly listening to his to some of the first stuff that came out after that, and he wasn't at school. He was riding his bike, and he said when he heard of the fruiting, he turned his bike around and pedaled as fast as he could, hoping to get an interview. That's odd. I thought he was there when it all started. No, I don't even believe he went to that school, because I've never seen a high school student with a receding hairline. Just saying. I think he's much older than he portrays himself to be. Anyway, the student turned activist, turned alarmist, turned propagandist, Pig Boy, is in the news again. Pig, as you remember, was a student at that certain school that had a fruiting in February 2018. After the fruiting, he emerged from the student body as one of its most vocal opponents to buns and the National Trifle Association. He made headlines time and time again, often because of controversial statements, misunderstanding facts, and of course his hyperbolic anti-bun rhetoric. Yeah. His latest desperate plea for attention came in the form of a number of tweets focused on death, one of which dealt with his own death. Specifically, if I die from bun violence, I want my photo published. There will be those that say you are politicizing tragedy, he wrote. They are wrong. Not doing anything to stop this violence is politicizing tragedy. Yeah. In the event I am killed, organize, mobilize, and get the peace plan passed and put my body on the NRA's doorstep in Fairfax, Virginia, he added. Really, really overinflated sense of his own importance. I think 99% of the people just say, go away. Please, you've had your 15 minutes. It's been actually stretched into 19 minutes. Please go away. Or is that just me? I don't think so. Pig's apparent fixation with death is somewhat understandable. Having multiple friends and acquaintances die in the same event in which you could have been killed is enough to scar anyone. Oh, please. He wasn't there. He was not there. So I'm not going to, because I see the way they're spinning this here. Yeah, and I don't like it. But anyway, I wanted to touch on that. Just shows you this boy thinks he's very important. Very, very important. Well, he is. He's been really important in upping the membership with the NRA, because a lot of people have gone right out as soon as they heard him and purchased guns. Yeah, they have, seriously. Okay. Hey, I feel somebody back there. All right, now let's go back. Just let me take a quick perusal here to see if there's anything else. Oh, yes, 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 this. I've got lots more, but I'm trying to pick and choose here in my last few minutes. Seattle officials can't agree on how to remove human crap from sidewalks. Councilman argues power washers are racist, since hoses used against blacks in the past. My car has hoses. Fire stations have hoses. Washing machines have hoses. Car washes have hoses. There's lots of things that have hoses. What about pantyhoses? I'm sorry, I'm being silly now. It's getting late. But seriously, I mean, are they all racist? Is my car racist? My washing machine? Really? Anyway, this is modern day left in action, pure insanity. Seattle has a human feces problem on their streets and sidewalks, but the city council cannot agree on how to remove the crap. Well, pick it up with your hands then. Well, if that was my city, I'd be like, look, you don't want to use hoses? Fine, pick it up with your hands. Just get rid of it. It can cause disease. These people are, I don't know, what is there some entity out there that's sucking the brains right out of our heads? Really? I've never seen the likes of this, ever. Council member Larry Gossett says power washing the sidewalks brings up images of using hoses against civil rights activists. Okay, so where did I go here? The Seattle News reported, some committee members expressed concern about addressing the symptoms of the area's problems without getting to the cause. Council member Larry Gossett said he didn't like the idea of power washing the sidewalks because it brought back images of the use of hoses against civil rights activists. Another council member, Claudia Balducci, suggested that the county consider using social service employees in partnership with police. So is Larry comparing crap on the sidewalk to civil rights protesters? They used other things against civil rights protesters too, like dogs. Should we do away with all dogs in Seattle? I don't know. What about the water itself? Is it racist? Why just the hoses? It's just the vehicle to carry the water. It's the water itself that's got to be racist. No, really. Think about it. What did the hose do? It's just the vehicle by which to steer the water to where it's going. It's the water itself. You've got to shut the water off to the city of Seattle. Now. I mean, don't delay. Shut it off. I mean, how insulting to the people that you allow water to come right out of the taps. My gosh, you people are racist in Seattle. Right out of the taps. You probably have water fountains in public too. My gosh. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that. Maybe we should just do away with water altogether. It's racist. It doesn't have a color. It doesn't pick sides. Anyway, all right. So I'm going to have to stop for now because it's 11:32 and I'd like to get this uploaded before midnight. And I will be back tomorrow. I can't foresee any situation that would arise that would keep me from being back tomorrow. So I'm going to say that I will be. Now, if you want to be subscribed, make sure you are still subscribed because, well, we know the games they play. So just take a moment to make sure you are still subscribed and hit the bell notification to be notified of future videos. And you guys have a wonderful night. Remember, please, if you are anywhere in the path of the storm or potential path of the storm, please take it seriously. Please. I don't know. I can't beg you enough. And, I know that nobody's going to make a decision based on what I say, and I don't think they should. But if you are a believer, pray about what you should do because this is not a storm to be trifled with at all. It's the wrong storm to be, I know there's people in every storm that says, well, I think I'll stay and ride this out. It's the wrong storm, really. So anyway, I just wish you all well. I think that any of us that are believers, I just ask that you would pray for the people of Florida and of any other state which is threatened, like Georgia, South Carolina, even North Carolina. So just take a moment and pray for their safety. And it works. I believe prayer works, or I wouldn't ask you to do that. So, all right. Well, you guys stay safe, stay blessed, and come back and see me. I'll be here tomorrow. Same bat channel. And I'm going to try and make it not so late. So there you go. You guys have a great night. Keep seeking truth. Sleep well.